Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Amanda and I'm a twin mom, and in today's video we're going over some of the easiest foods or meals that I make for my family. They're either easy because I've made them so many times I don't even need to look at the recipe, or they're one of those meals that you don't even need a recipe for. So we're starting off with just my sourdough sandwich loaf. Again, this is one of those that I've made so much that I don't even need to look at a recipe. I will put it in the description box, but I've done a video on this before. We're also going to be starting the day with some homemade yogurt. I've done a video on how to do this more in depth, but you just need about a half gallon of milk. I'm using whole here, and then just about a quarter cup of starter culture. This was a previous yogurt batch that I did that I actually just put into the store-bought container that I've washed out. That's going to sit on your counter for the rest of the day while all the cultures come together. Next, we're going to start some energy bites. I made these in last week's video and they were so good. But again, this is one of those things that once you've made it once, the recipe really doesn't matter. So you'll see here, I'm not really using any measuring cups except for the oats, but the peanut butter, I'm kind of going based off of texture of what I think it should be. So probably about a quarter cup of peanut butter, about a third cup of maple syrup, a grated apple, medium, and then some cinnamon. And we're just gonna give this a mix. This week I did add about a quarter cup of raisins just to mix it up from last time. Once this is all mixed up, you'll eventually just scoop it out and roll it into balls and then put them in the refrigerator when they're all done. We were being pretty efficient here. I finished those energy bites just as it was time to pull out the bread. When my bread is nice and hot, I like to put some butter on it just to keep that crust soft and tender throughout the week. We're heading into our first meal this week, and I am using just some frozen patties. One of the things that I've learned, especially throughout the summer, is that it was nice to just have hamburgers on hand. This made for quick grilling nights. Today I'm actually going to cook it in the oven. You can see here I put them in their own little tinfoil divider so that the grease doesn't go all over the potatoes. Then I just cut up some golden potatoes, just drizzled or sprayed some olive oil on that, and then just salt and pepper. The hamburgers also have Montreal steak seasoning on them, and I'm just gonna bake this in the oven. I happen to have defrosted these hamburgers, so this will be done in probably about 10 minutes. The potatoes will go in for about 20, but if these patties were frozen, I would just flip them halfway and keep them in for the whole 20 minutes as well. This is how they turned out. My family will eat them with buns later, but this is how they looked out of the oven. Okay, so for this next recipe, I'm totally just making this up as I went along. I was really feeling some butternut squash soup, but kind of with a more summer flair, if you will. So I just chopped up a whole butternut squash and I put that into a stock pot. And then I'm gonna chop up an onion, roughly chop it. I did end up putting in 2 whole carrots that I chopped up. I forgot I had them and remembered after I'd already put it on the stove. So it's not caught on camera here, but I did add that in. After becoming a homemaker full-time, cooking without a recipe is one of my favorite ways to cook. Because I spent more time in the kitchen, I was able to learn some new skills, and I also found that I repeated a lot of the same skills or flavor profiles in other meals or recipes that I did follow, and found that I was able to create my own things using those same techniques, and soup is a perfect example. I never really realized how easy it was just to take produce and things that are sitting in your fridge, cut them up, cover them with some vegetable stock, and let everything come together, and then use an immersion blender to smooth it out. And really, that's all we did here. We just have some pureed vegetables, and then I added some chopped up chicken sausage and eventually some beans that I had made in the Instant Pot to give it some protein, extra fiber, and now you have a full-on meal that took little to no prep time and is going to be very satiating for your family. I ended up serving this with freshly grated Parmesan cheese and then a slice of my sourdough bread we made earlier. This next meal is one of my go-to hassle-free, no preparation necessary meals, and it is crock-pot pulled pork. I'm using a pork tenderloin here this time, just for a more leaner cut of pork. I have very basic spice and flavor profile while it's cooking, and then you can use a lot of creativity when you're ready to serve it. So using different barbecue sauces, you can use the pork then in other dishes, but this is a great thing. Right now I'm just using a pre-made barbecue rub and just sprinkling that on there just for some flavor. And then I also use about a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, and you could use water for this next part, but I actually had some chicken stock in the fridge, so I'm using about 3/4 cup of chicken stock just to give the crock pot some liquid so the pork doesn't dry out. I just let this cook 6 to 8 hours on low on the countertop until it's tender and can pull apart with a fork. To go with our pulled pork, we are going to do Instant Pot mac and cheese. And again, this may be a little hack that I am late to the game with, but I never thought about making mac and cheese in the Instant Pot until I saw another creator do this. So I just put a box of noodles in, it could be any kind you like, fill that up till the noodles are covered about a 1/2 inch, and then I put this on pressure cook for 4 minutes. And honestly, it takes about 15 minutes for the noodles to fully cook through from the time that you close that lid and start. I love using the Instant Pot to make the mac and cheese because I don't have to stand over the stove and wait for it to boil and then pour the noodles in and then have it overflow, and you know the whole deal where it gets all over your stovetops and burns in. This allows me to set the noodles and then go somewhere else, so I can play outside with the kids, or I can be in another room and just let the noodles do their thing. So while the noodles are cooking though, I am using this time to shred up my cheese. You can use really whatever combinations of cheese you like, and again, a lot of flexibility here, not following a recipe. Today, I chose to do about 6 ounces of cheddar cheese and then maybe about 4 ounces of mozzarella cheese. And we're just gonna go ahead and shred that up, and we'll wait until the noodles are done to put that in. As soon as the Instant Pot signals that it is done, you're gonna wanna let it naturally release air, otherwise you're gonna get pasta water spraying out like here. So I advise just to let it sit a little bit and then you can manually release. After all the pressure has been released, we're gonna strain the pasta and then put it back into our Instant Pot. We wanna make sure we keep this on the keep warm setting before we start our cheese sauce. For our cheese sauce, you can do whatever flavor profile you like that your family will enjoy, but I'm starting with 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I'll add just enough milk until it looks like cereal. That's the best way I can explain it, where the noodles aren't covered, but you can kind of see there's a lot of milk in there. Give that a good stir until the butter is melted. And now we'll go in with our spices. I like to do a mix of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and smoked paprika, and then also about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. After all of that has been mixed together and the butter is melted, we are going to slowly add in our cheeses. So I just do a little handfuls at a time, give it a good stir until all of the cheese is melted, and then we add a little bit more. At the end, you'll see that it's just this creamy, delicious mac and cheese that was one pot, super easy. And from beginning to end, it took me about 25 minutes until it was over, with really only about 3 minutes to 5 minutes of hands-on time. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you felt inspired with some low effort yet highly nutritious meals that will feed your family when you're busy and you really just don't have the time to spend in the kitchen. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.